On September 15th, we decided to can grape juice from our grapevines, but the day didn't turn out quite like we expected.
I woke up with vertigo, which meant that I would spend most of the day on the sofa feeling very dizzy. My sister-in-law had sent me a text message that morning, and she encouraged me to look for God's hand at work. So that kind of alerted me to look for God's goodness.
Val's mom and her brother Mark, spur of the moment, decided to come over and help. All of the 5 children were outside, including our youngest, Millie. She's 2 years old.
All of a sudden, our 9-year-old daughter came storming into the house, just screaming hysterically that Millie cut her hand. It was really clear that she needed a doctor right away. The emergency room was completely empty, which I've never seen that before. The operating room schedule was open, so she was able to get surgery that same day rather than waiting for another day. Her cut was really deep and it was really close to her tendons, but thankfully she didn't have any permanent damage in her hand at all.
And then back at home, the rest of the family had supper all taken care of because the day before somebody had stopped by and dropped off a ready-to-bake meal before any of this happened.
I was so blessed by the details of that day, from my mom and brother being there to how well everything went at the hospital, the meal, and also for all the prayer warriors that stood with us that day. I may have viewed my day a lot differently if I hadn't received that text message that morning, which had prepared my heart to look for God working in my life throughout that day.
So it was at a time where I felt really disqualified, like I was so aware of my own sin and my own shortcomings, and I felt like I couldn't even worship God. Like, how could he not be disappointed in me? But then God met me and he said, my weakness is his glory. The next day I saw a lady and I knew I needed to pray for her. But I was like, God, like, how can I pray for her? Like, I've got nothing to give her. And he said, my weakness is his glory. And so I asked her what she wanted prayer for. And she said physical healing for her back. And I was like, okay, God, my weakness is your glory. And so I prayed for her and she was healed. And I couldn't believe it. And God was telling me, like, you don't qualify yourself. Like, your strength doesn't qualify you. Your performance doesn't qualify you. Your feelings don't qualify you. I'm the one who qualified you. Like, I died on the cross so that you could have my life, my qualified life. And so you now are qualified.
I have seen God's faithfulness and witnessed miracles of provision all throughout my life. Growing up in Guatemala, there were many times when my parents did not have money for me to pay the bus to go to school the next morning, yet I never missed a day of school. God always provided between Sunday night and Monday morning. Once I moved to the States, I couldn't work until I got married to Janae. God was faithful. He provided for Janae and I through that season. I even had wisdom teeth surgery and got to go on a mission trip outside the country during that time. More recently, God has been faithful and provided for us in our business with different tax deadlines. We will get current clients and even new clients messaging in and asking if it's okay for them to pay in full, and the payment will come right in time for the tax deadline. Now that is a miracle, and God has been faithful to us.
A few years into marriage, we got pregnant with our firstborn and couldn't wait to be parents. Just after birth, we discovered that our son had a birth defect that would require 2 surgeries. We look back on those first days amazed at how God gave us peace through the storm. We witnessed our first miracle when our son Miles was healed by God through the wisdom and expertise of the doctors and nurses. Fast forward a few years to when we got pregnant with our secondborn, our daughter. Early in pregnancy, I had experienced some heavy bleeding and was told I miscarried. For a week, we mourned the loss of our sweet baby. But after some blood work, we discovered that I was still pregnant. An ultrasound revealed some abnormalities and a pocket of blood that could still take our baby. During this time, Pastor Kevin and Jimmy Nyman prayed over us and anointed me with oil for healing. An ultrasound at 12 weeks revealed that what we had prayed for had happened. The pocket of blood that could take our baby had completely disappeared. Isla was born 6 months later, perfectly healthy. Now we are in another season of miracles and of our faith being built with our 3rd child. Again, there was a pocket of fluid and blood that could take this baby, and again, God performed a miracle. It was completely gone at my mid-pregnancy ultrasound. I have grown closer to God through prayer, songs of worship, and my personal quiet time. I trust that God is taking care of everything because He has done it before and He will do it again.
As we reflect back on our lives and the way God moves, we see a lot of everyday miracles.
For us, an everyday miracle looks like the time I heard a siren in the distance and the Holy Spirit saying, "That is your son who has been in a motorcycle accident."
And I was out running errands and heard the same siren, and the Holy Spirit told me also that it was for our son.
And because of that, we got to the accident scene and were able to ride in the ambulance with him, and he's doing fine now.
For me, it's the Holy Spirit's prompting to have words of encouragement or comfort for someone I'm talking to, or maybe even just buying the right gift that will bless someone.
In God's provision, when the company I was working for shut down and I needed a back operation, and it was off for 4 months, and he took care of all our needs.
We have found that if we're aware of God in our everyday lives, there's many times that the supernatural breaks through that thin veil into the natural, and we see God's hand in our lives.
I believe God is involved in the everyday details of my life.
God has always been faithful to us.
I don't have to feel worthy. God has already qualified me.
He is more powerful than any situation we could ever face.
God has done it before, and he will do it again.
And God is at work in our everyday lives in ways we don't even see sometimes.
God always provides for my family, no matter what the circumstances.
I believe that God speaks to me and fills me when I reach out to those around me.
I believe this baby and our family are miracles in motion.